Welcome to you, Jen Mazer, Queen of Manifestation, transformational speaker and coach, and also somebody that I just adore. And I'm so happy to have you. It's been so long. We finally get to do this.
Yes, I'm so excited and so happy to be here.
Yay. Well, I've not done very many episodes on the art of manifestation, even though it is something that I'm dabbling in myself, and certainly with a big encouraging push from you back from the work that we did together. But you are definitely the person to talk to about it. So let's get into it. I want to hear first, you have to share your story and how you even got to where you are and what you're doing and how you became the queen of manifestation, because it's a fantastic story. But yeah, I think I want to give some context for folks on the work that you do and how you came to do it.
Yeah, awesome. Sure. So I was always the friend in my circle of girlfriends who every time we got together, I had another outrageous story of something that I manifested. And so they gave me the nickname Queen of Manifestation years ago in my friend group because I manifested living rent-free in Manhattan for over 10 years in the East Village in my own apartment that I
Okay, we're going to get into that.
renovated with my jacuzzi bathtub and new kitchen. Started to become friends with people I used to admire, spiritual leaders, or like at a private cocktail party with Martin Scorsese, or backstage at the UN with Whoopi Goldberg, or just so many stories, right? And manifested my soulmate, my art in the New York Times and New York Magazine, and traveled the world. I gave birth to both of my kids, home births, the same exact day, 9 years apart. Just so many synchronistic stories. Like you would be like, that's crazy. But it's not crazy. And people started to ask me, how did you do this? And I started teaching it. And that's basically how it all evolved into Queen of Manifestation and my business and coaching and my book with Simon and Schuster. So many stories.
I
So
know.
yeah.
I want you to tell some of the stories, but before we even get there, I mean, this this buzzword, this concept, this process, obviously in some circles and in some cultures has been around for a very long time, but I certainly think in our culture in here in 2024, it's not that old. We haven't been working at this as a culture for very long. So even when you say back in the days where you manifested an apartment, how are you thinking about it then, or how, where did the word
Mm,
or the concept even come to you that you were applying whatever principles you were, and it probably,
mm,
I don't even know if it was in a format necessarily or if you were writing the book as you went along, but where
yeah.
did the initial origins of that practice come for you?
Honestly, it was very intuitive. I didn't, read somebody's book and have an aha moment. I wasn't following someone else's system. It was just what I was doing naturally. And I think my background as an artist really informed the way I looked at the world because I literally experienced visualizing something in my own head that I wanted to create. And then I made it happen. And I wasn't like concerned about what other people were going to think of me. I was just
Mhm.
like, yes, I'm doing this thing. I mean, I did crazy art pieces and feminist work and pushing buttons. And I just did it because I wanted to do it. And I did
Yeah.
what felt good to me. And I went to concerts, that felt good to me and then became friends with musicians or, just stories because
Yeah.
I was showing up authentically as myself doing what I loved. And vibrantly, people felt that.
Mhm.
Right. Ooh, there's something good about Jen that feels good, and we want to hang out with her. And then, it wasn't really until my friends were like, she's the queen of manifestation. That I was like, oh, yes, I am the queen of manifestation. I knew about manifesting, and I've read lots of different spiritual books, and I went to India and studied yoga and lived in an ashram and all sorts of things and spent time in lots of other cultures. I was always a spiritual person and have had crazy spiritual experiences, but I don't think I was like, I am manifesting this, and
Right.
consciously thinking that necessarily. But I did, put things down. And again, it was like what I was doing. I wrote my intentions and I acted as if, but I wasn't obsessive with it. And I think a lot of people get that wrong. They're like trying too hard to make things happen, and they don't really understand how manifestation works. We're all manifesting, whether we realize it or
Right.
not. And it's understanding it that it's actually through your imagination that you tap into your intuition. So it's not like, Erica, you are making this happen. Like, the All Too Well podcast, for example. It's like you kind of had this vision for the podcast, but you received it. So it's like you're receiving the universe's vision for you. And most people view it the opposite way. They think they have this idea and they're making it up. And then it's, up to them to make it happen
Mhm.
versus I'm using my imagination and I'm opening up to anything is possible. And I'm actually, because I'm opening up and using my imagination, I'm actually tuning in. And that's my intuition. And I'm receiving the universe's dream for me. And all that I need to do is just say yes.
Mhm.
I'm just continuing to stay open versus closing it off. And I
Mhm.
think manifesting is so much more about receiving and continuing to take action from a place of receptivity versus all the reasons why it can't happen. And
Yeah.
we stop ourselves.
Yeah. No, I think that's so important and powerful as a concept because I think certainly, and I want to talk about this later, but I think certainly this word, this practice, manifestation has a very woo-woo connotation to it. And I think it's very easy for people to dismiss it by
Yeah.
saying that it's magical thinking, that it's not based in reality. That's not really how the world works. And honestly, if you fully believe all of that to be true and you're cutting yourself off to the possibility, then sure, you can certainly, just like anything else, you can manifest that manifestation is bullshit. But I think that to your point, what you just described, it's so fascinating to me that it doesn't matter which vertical you look at it in. Right now, we're using manifestation as our word in the vertical. But I did an interview a couple of weeks ago with a hypnotherapist, and she was formerly a photographer. She talked all about how she used to work in a visual medium and she applied that experience to working with her clients, where the most powerful thing that she can do is encourage them to have a clear vision of where it is they want to be, what it is they want to do, unlock, etc. It's less about manifestation and more about exactly what you just said. You have the visual in your mind, the most crystal clear visual you can have, and then just showing up and allowing it to come is really what it is.
Yeah, it is. And we all have that ability and we're all doing it, whether we realize it or not. And now, thankfully, science is catching up to it. It's all saying the same thing, science
Yeah.
and spirituality, right? And quantum physics. And so, I've done psychic classes where I, wanted to get clear on how my intuition is coming in. We all are walking around as energy towers, giving off information and receiving information all the time. That's what vibration really is, right? It's not like just these buzzwords of like high vibes,
Mm-hmm.
but what is that? Vibration is movement. We're all in movement, right? If we were to zoom in at our cells and see the molecules, the neurons and electrons are moving all the time. And so we're vibrating. Same thing if we think about on a large scale, the earth is rotating around its axis and it's rotating around the sun. We're in movement on a large scale all the time, even though we feel like we're still. So movement and vibration is the natural state of the universe. We are vibrating. And the higher the movement, the vibration, right, the more the attraction. And so if you're feeling stuck in your life, there's some sort of stuck, you're not moving as fast, right? So there's something that's like blocking you. So it's about kind of things will happen, obstacles will constantly show up, but how do I get back into that higher vibrational state the fastest so I don't stay stuck, so I can continue to, attract the life that I want? And everything is connected. So even manifesting comes from a feeling place. It's not just I'm going to recite an affirmation and, and then it's going to happen, or I'm with my soulmate or I'm making, millions of dollars and then all of a sudden my soulmate is in front of me and the money falls from the sky. Like it's not like that. It's about, okay, number one, asking myself, like you said, the clarity. What do I want? Right? Getting clear on what you actually want, not just what you think you want based on what society says or what, your parents or, all or your current circumstances make it appear like you should have. But like, if I could have anything, what would I want? If I could be anywhere, do anything, like getting really clear on giving yourself permission to
Mm-hmm.
have whatever you want. And then the second thing is, well, how would I feel if I have that thing that I want? Right? Getting in touch with the feeling so that you can attach the feeling to what you want. So it's like, oh, when I'm with my soulmate, I'll feel loved or I'll feel secure or I'll feel like tingly and excited or whatever those feelings are that we want to
Mm-hmm.
feel. And then the third question is, well, how can I feel that way now? I might not have my soulmate, but I can do things that make me feel excited and tingly and secure and loved right now in this moment. And when I do those things, I'm shifting my own vibration. And then I'm a magnet to what I desire. And more things come into me that are a match to that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Oh my God, it makes total sense. I love it. I get tingly and excited even just when you describe it that way. Okay, so can you give the example either of your rent-free apartment in New York situation or your book coming to fruition, whichever one you feel. I mean, they're both incredible stories. You can tell them
Yeah.
both. I don't care what, but I want people to really understand exactly what happened for you and what you did and what you didn't do in terms of forcing it versus
Yeah.
allowing it.
Yeah. Oh gosh, they're both great stories. So which one do I want to share first?
I
I'll
think
share
most people would be curious, how to
the
live for
rent-free one.
free in
Yeah.
New
Yeah,
York.
yeah, yeah. That's always like anyone can do both, but yes. So I was living in New York. I was in art school. I went to NYU for art school, and I was living in the East Village, and I was thankfully being supported by my parents while I was in college. So I was in a good place. I was living with two artists who were out of school, and I was sharing an apartment with them and paying like $1,000 a month for my room in that apartment in the East Village. And I was walking down the street one day, and one of my neighbors was outside, and I was on this brownstone block. So it was beautiful, all brownstones. I was at the end, not in a brownstone. And there was this one building that they had painted purple on the outside, and it had this handmade wrought iron gate in front. And it was like very magical. So I always was curious about like the purple building. And one day there was a woman outside, and she was sweeping in the front of the building. And we just started talking like neighbors because we were in the East Village, very far in Alphabet City. So we didn't have a lot of like through traffic. So we just started talking to each other. And she told me that she wasn't paying rent to live in that building. And my eyes lit up, and I was like, oh my God, I didn't know that was a possibility that even existed. And she told me that they had converted the downstairs apartment into a theater, a little like black box theater, 40-seat theater. And she was putting on a play that she wrote and directed. So she was talking to me because she wanted me to come and fill the room and go to her play. Right. So, and I was just like, oh my gosh, this is the coolest thing ever. I can't wait to go and see this building. So I went to the play. And I went with the intention of finding out how I could get into this building. And, the play was actually really good, and I enjoyed myself. And I met there were two people at the time who were running the building, and I talked to them afterwards, and I was like, hey, I would love an apartment here. Is there an apartment available? And they said, well, actually, there is one apartment available in the building, and it's for someone who can design a website for our theater, because there was no website for the theater. And this was over 20 years ago. There were no website plugins or platforms. You had to know HTML code. And I had never made a website before, but I was in art school at NYU, and I was taking a computer science class. And so I said, I can make a website for you. And they gave me, I think it was like 2 weeks. They're like, okay, you've got 2 weeks, to show us. So I taught myself HTML code, and I made a website, and the rest is history. I moved into the apartment, and I was there for my entire 20s for over 10 years. It was my choice to leave. And actually, I sold the apartment and made money off of it. So, I mean, it was just this most outrageous story, but it was so much fun. And the point of this story, really, I mean, there's more to it, but is that I said yes even before I was ready, number one. I think a lot of people stop themselves when an opportunity presents itself, and you're like, well, I'm not qualified enough, or I need to do all these things first. We never feel ready for anything, right? But if the universe is presenting an opportunity, it's like it's there for us, right? There are no accidents or mistakes in the universe, and we're always in the right place at the right time. There's always some opportunity, even when it doesn't feel that way and it feels like an obstacle. So I was like, yes, okay, this is what I want. I'm going to figure it out. And then I did. And then that opportunity led to actually so much more that I even, wasn't even thinking. I was just thinking rent free, right? And I knew that once college was over, my parents were going to stop supporting me. So I needed to figure it out. And then boom, this perfect situation appears. And then the theater, we used to put on concerts and plays every Christmas time. The jazz musician Wynton Marsalis would play a show for us, a little private concert. And I think it was 2003, we recorded the live concert and put out an album with Blue Note Records. And it was nominated for a Grammy. You can listen to it. It was called Live at the House of Tribes. But so many amazing stories. And it led to me having like a little career as a web designer while I was in college. That was like how I made my money, because I knew web design. And I did websites for all of my favorite things, which is kind of like the connection that we had, which we didn't even realize. Like I did websites for my favorite vegan restaurants, like Candle Cafe and Candle
Right.
79, and, like Augusta's Luscious Chocolates, like all my favorite things, back in the day.
Yeah.
And movie film festivals and
Mhm.
just fun things. So anyway, yeah, just a really fun story. And because of that, like if I love to take a thread of your life and kind of weave it through different moments that feel like insignificant. But if you
Mm,
think about significant things in your life, like my soulmate, Amayo, and how I met him, it was actually because of that apartment, really. Like if I trace it all the way back, right? Like then, saying yes to that, learning web design, meeting the owners of Candle Cafe, doing their website, allowed me to be at this party that they were having years later. That then I met this one musician, became friends with, and then through him, I met Amayo, right? So then it's like, boom. Oh, wow, look at how the universe
yeah.
is always guiding me to everything, at the right time. Also, I think our subconscious mind can only process what we know, right? So there's so much there for us, like in terms of possibility, that we can't even see because we've never experienced it. And I always say this, but everything that that you want to manifest, it's like on your dream list, you don't know what it's going to feel like because you've never experienced it before, right? You want it. And so anything new is going to feel uncomfortable because it's new. You're comfortable with everything you have around you. And I think for so many of us, it's just reframing discomfort as a good thing, right? Like, oh, this is what I want to keep feeling because when I'm uncomfortable, it means I'm about to experience something
Mhm.
new, which is what I want, right? And so it's being okay with stepping out of your comfort zone, with
Yeah.
with trying, going for something. And I always say too, it's like ordering at a restaurant, like the universe is the kitchen, right? And you're going to receive your order. Even if you're at a restaurant, it's taking a long time, and you're sitting there like starving, flag down the waiter and be like, hey, can you check on my order? You know, you're not going to leave hungry, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's also trusting the whole process, like really expecting that it's all going to work out because it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Your imagination is how you tap into your intuition. So you're not just imagining, you're actually receiving what's going to happen. And if you have this outrageous, crazy belief, no one else around you has to believe it, just you,
Mhm.
right? But if you're like, oh my gosh, that is going to happen versus I'm just trying to do that or I want that, you take action from a place of expectation and it actually makes you not needy, which you think it would be like you're not actually attached at all because you trust it's going to happen. So when you make an offer on your dream house, you don't need the offer to be accepted because hey, if this isn't accepted, I'm still getting my dream house, right? It's like this or something better,
Mhm.
right? Because it's all working out because you saw that you're going to be in your dream house or with your, dream partner or whatever it is. And so it's really operating from that place of trust. And
Yeah.
that really does make a huge difference.
Yeah, no, I love the metaphor that you use about the universe being the kitchen and placing your order because that is so true. It's when you're at a restaurant, unless something goes very wrong, you are eventually getting your food. It's just, it might take a little bit longer. It might not show up looking the way that you thought it would. It
Yep.
might come via a different waiter, whatever it's going to be. And when you say that you can flag the waiter down just for a little check in, I feel
Reminder.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, I feel like that is the examples that you've given. And full disclosure, you and I have worked together in a coaching module, which I loved and I got so much out of it just because I really honestly feel that the way that you work and the language that you choose and the exercises and the visualizations, it just resonated with me. That's not to say that it's the same for everybody, but I loved that metaphor because it's not only about putting in your order with the kitchen of the universe, but when you say you flag your waiter and ask for a little check in, that's where you would say, you now look for signs and synchronicities in the world. And that is validation that the things are coming together for you. And so even if it's not the thing that you ordered, you get a little glimmer, you get a little flicker every once in a while that it's like a little wink from the universe. Like, hey, I got you. Just sit back and be patient. Your cheeseburger's coming.
Right. And what you focus on expands, right? And I remember talking to you about this at one point. Like, you said you can prove yourself right either way, right? We can find signs as to why everything is working out for us, or we can sit there and find reasons why everything is not working out for us, right? It's a choice. And in quantum physics, we call it the participatory universe, right? We are participants. We are not victims of our circumstances. It doesn't mean shit doesn't happen, right? To us or for us, whatever, how you want to look at it, but it means we get a choice in how we respond in
Mm,
any situation, right? By being a participant, we can change the way we are being and responding, which then changes the outcome in the next second. And I love to think of it what you said, like finding signs and synchronicities that you're in the right place. Like when you set an intention for what you want in your life, you're planting seeds, and you're planting seeds in the soil, right? You're setting your intention and you nurture those seeds. And the first part of that process, the gestation period, all you see around you is dirt. And so your big dream might look like dirt. You're trusting that stuff is happening beneath the soil because the seeds first grow roots down in the surface to have a solid foundation. And then little sprouts show up above the surface. And when the sprouts come, most people are like, oh, the tree, right?
Wait,
And it's no,
time out.
that's
The audio cut out for a second, and I need you to say
oh,
that again. Hold on. It just said that your internet connection is unstable, and I can't believe that I'm not seeing any other evidence of that.
my video.
It's saying that mine is, so I'm
Oh,
going
okay,
to
it's yours.
actually turn my video off, and hopefully
Okay.
that helps.
You want me to say that story again about
I want
planting
you to just
seeds?
go back to the part about when you see, like you're looking at dirt, and then you see the little sprouts come up.
Yeah. So when you set your intention for your dream, you're planting seeds in the dirt, right? And first, those seeds grow roots down in the soil to have a solid foundation. And so all you see around you is dirt, right? And then all of a sudden, little sprouts grow up above the surface. And most people see those sprouts and they're like, oh, it's just a sprout. I wanted a tree, right? But instead, if you could see those sprouts and celebrate, oh my gosh, that sprout is the tree. That sprout is going to become the tree if I continue to nurture and water it, right? So celebrate those small little winks, those small synchronicities, because they become the bigger things,
Yeah.
right? So I think that's so important. And, everyone talks about gratitude and having a gratitude practice. It really is not just like, okay, you have to write your gratitude every day, 3 things that you're grateful for. Yes, that's wonderful. We're reprogramming your brain really to look for the good, to find evidence that it's out there, right? And so gratitude and the practice of writing it down is wonderful. You don't have to do it every day for the rest of your life, but there's a reason why we're looking for the good, right? To
Yeah.
see the signs that they are there all the time, and that's how I've got clients who are like, one of my clients, he was working on a business deal, a real estate deal with someone in another state. And he was in Virginia, and this, other person was somewhere in the South. Anyway, he's on vacation in Martha's Vineyard, and he's in line at a restaurant getting takeout with his family. And there's a little bit of a wait. And so he starts talking to the woman next to him. And she happens to be from the same exact small town as this place that he's trying to do a real estate deal in another state. And he's like, oh my gosh, that's so interesting. I've been trying to reach so-and-so, the name of this guy, and I haven't been able to reach him. Do you happen to know him? And she smiles and she says the name back. Oh, you mean so-and-so? And he's like, yeah. And she looks to her husband and says, that's my husband. He's right there in line at the same restaurant on vacation in a totally different state. So they ended up meeting, like setting up a time, doing business later. I mean, but that's exactly it. Like the
Yeah.
universe is always giving you everything you need if you're open, if you're paying attention. He could have not talked to her, right? It just happened the other day. I was at a Grammy party. My love is a Grammy nominated musician. We went to this party the other night here, and I was standing next to this guy, and I turned next to him. I'm like, hey, what's your name? Where are you from? He tells me where he's from. He says he's from Boston. I was like, no, where are you really from? I could hear an accent. And then he says, oh, I'm from Nigeria. Oh, my love is from Nigeria. Like, what part? They're from the same exact town, the
Oh
same
my
exact
God.
tribe, I could have not said anything to him, but something, you know what I mean, told me,
Yeah.
oh, just that's it.
Yeah.
Everything you need is right in front of your nose all the time if you can
Yeah.
just open your eyes to see it.
I love it. I think that's, I mean, there's so much. Well, first, I wanted to tell you because I thought of you the other day when I actually did a recording on this. It was like one of my little Tuesday tidbit things. But I put that practice, that very practice that you taught me, into motion because I started off this year, clean slate, 2024. What am I going after? What do I really want to bring in? And I was like, joy is a really big thing for me. Like, I feel like I need to call more joy into my life. And there's a lot of things to celebrate and all of that. And I was in a particularly crappy mood a couple of weeks ago. It was, the weather, January, gray, New York, blah, whatever. And I was trudging up my block to the subway. And I just started doing the little mantra in my head. I was just like, find joy. And I shit you not, I looked down and there was an Almond Joy wrapper from a candy bar on the street, and it was torn. So the only thing that you could see was the word joy. And I laughed out loud so hard. I just stopped and I was like, there it is right there, guys. Like, if you need any other evidence. And I totally thought of you and I waited until we were going to have this conversation so that I could share that with you.
Oh my
Um,
God, it's so perfect. What a good extreme example,
I
right?
know. But that's, I mean, and that's why to tie it back to, we're talking about the big picture and the concepts and what you do and what people can do. But the work that you do, that's such a huge part of your practice is just really coaching and helping people to see those things. Like in another scenario, I probably wouldn't have noticed. But because I had this little tool in my brain of, okay, here, I need to reframe. I need to start looking for the things because that's what, when you get off course, you need to bring yourself back and start looking for the little miracles and the winks and the glimmers. And then that happened. And so I felt like I owed that to you because that's such a huge part of what you do is like just showing people you're not doing anything and no one else is coming in to intervene. It's like just showing people that they have this tool within them, that they actually are able to do it. You're the biggest cheerleader for helping people to understand that they all have that kind of magic power.
Ability. Yeah, totally. Totally. And I think we lose faith for ourselves somewhere along the way. We're just like insecure about not being good enough or whatever it is, or an obstacle shows up, or we don't give ourselves permission to dream even bigger. I think a lot of times people come to me with what they think is their big dream. And I'm like, oh, yes, of course that's happening. And I see it going even bigger, right? And it's like, whoa, wow, you do? And, being able to then like bridge that gap and see, giving yourself permission to
Yeah.
go even bigger, right? Because why
Yeah.
not, right? We're here to create things on a physical level. Let's live out the most outrageous things we can possibly
Or
dream up for
yeah, at least
ourselves.
put them in the forefront of our minds so that they feel like they're possible. So, okay, taking the other angle, taking the other side of the table for a moment, because like I said, I know that this type of conversation, this topic sometimes elicits eye rolls and people just feeling like, oh my God, I can't believe here we are again. What do you say? I mean, what can you say to somebody who's like, okay, well, just this means that now I have to just be Sally smiles all the time and I have to be super optimistic and I have to be like putting out positive vibes everywhere. And what if I'm just feeling like I don't feel positive today and
Yeah.
I can't get there?
Yeah. You don't need to be positive all the time. I think that's where people get it wrong, is they think I have to be like pretend positive in order to manifest my dreams. And actually, emotion, the root word of emotion is motion. We are meant to feel our feelings. It goes back to what I just talked about in quantum physics and how everything is vibrating, right? So if we have some sort of emotion coming up and we're upset, we're pissed off, or whatever, we're disappointed, like feel your feelings. You're not messing anything up. If we could have an instant manifestation, like I said, and $1 million would fall from the sky, then every single thought would affect, the outcome. But one thought or one day, of feeling in a funk is not going to mess you up. And I think people come to me all the time being like, what am I doing wrong? And I always say that's not the right question to ask. Like, we could go down that hole if you want to, but what purpose does it serve? Right?
Mhm.
I could examine all the things I'm doing wrong, but why? Like, instead, what do I want? And then how am I going to get there? Like, let's focus on that. But don't feel like you have to be positive all the time, because again, manifesting isn't just this one instantaneous thing, and it's the repetition of thoughts over time. So yes, I might be upset, but then how can I get myself back into a good feeling place the fastest so I don't stay depressed for a week, right? So I can kind of bounce back. I might have a moment and then it's like, okay, what's still good right now? And I think gratitude, as whatever cheesy as it sounds, it really is a great tool for grounding, because you're like, what is still good in this moment? What is still okay right now? Even though all this is happening, or I might feel anxious or whatever, like right now in this moment, let's look around the room. What's here? Okay. And then amplifying all the good things that are still there, but
Yeah.
not being afraid of having a bad thought or being negative. That's totally fine. And again, it's just, what are my consistent thoughts, right? Like, but manifesting comes from a feeling place. And so, the way that I teach and the tools and practices that I teach, it's not you have to do it this way or else you're screwed, right? I don't think that works, because everything feels different to everybody. So it's
Mhm.
finding what feels good for you, right? Here are the tools, here are the different ways in which you can get there, but ultimately you get to decide, right? Like what avenue is going to feel right for you. And it's, again, it's a choice. I love how too, I wanted to bring back the thing that you were talking about too with ordering at the restaurant, right? The universe is the kitchen. And how, I said like you might, have to flag down the waiter and remind them of your order, but you're still going to be served. And I think too, so often we feel bad about reminding people about our dreams or sending little nudges. I like to call them gentle nudges. Like, people want to help you. And I think I have this belief, like, and I tell my clients, like, everyone wants to help, right? It feels good to help. If you remember a time, we've all helped someone in some way. Like someone asks us to recommend your favorite restaurant because they're in town. And you're like, oh, yes, you should go to this place. It's the best food. It feels good to help that person, right? Even if you're not doing anything, but just texting a recommendation. And so if it feels good to help, right, when you ask, you're giving someone the opportunity to feel good. So don't ever be afraid of asking because you're
Mm.
giving someone the opportunity to feel good. And, I gave the example of like being in line at the same place at the same time. Other people are meant to play their part in your big dream because your big dream is a part of somebody else's big dream too, in a different way, right? Like their big dream is to produce this podcast, or you know what I mean? And it's like, right, my big dream is to have this podcast. And then boom, you come together and it gets even better, right? And so it's like, if I don't ask, I'm never allowing myself to be open to that opportunity, right, of the right connections. And really, it's about staying open to connections,
Mhm.
right, to receiving. And being vulnerable is actually being available for connection and not being afraid to share what you're excited about. Because again, it's that vibration, that enthusiasm. If you're sure of yourself, not questioning, but you're like, I'm doing this thing, and you have the enthusiasm, other people want to join up, right? And help you make it happen because they're so excited about it too. So yeah.
I love that. I think that's important for a lot of people to hear, because I think that so many of us get into this mindset of, we're either too proud to ask for help, or we don't want to be a burden or a nuisance to ask someone for help, or we can come up with a million reasons why we don't want to put ourselves out there, quote unquote, to ask for help. Just what you said, it makes us vulnerable, et cetera. But the reality is, again, yeah, think about it from the other person's point of view. If they can do something to help you, like that's like a little chuck on the chin for them. Like that's a nice
Yeah.
feeling for them. So you think about it like, oh, maybe my asking you for help is actually a gift to you, and you use that gift sparingly. You don't ask the same person a dozen
Over and
times
over
for a
again.
dozen different favors and all that.
Right.
But
Right. But it's like, yeah, not feeling guilty for asking because if they'll say no, like, don't, I always say, and I say it in my book, like, go for the no, because if you don't make an outrageous ask, like, what if they say yes? What if you got exactly what you wanted? And so, like, be okay with getting a no. You're not attached, and be proud of how you're showing up, not attached to the results of your actions, but be proud of how you are showing up. If you feel good and you're in alignment with yourself, that's all that matters,
yeah,
right? I mean, obviously, if you're doing good in the world, not hurting anyone, right? But it's about like, how am I showing up? I'm proud of myself for asking in the first place, whether I got rejected or not. Who cares? But like, I'm so proud of myself for going for it. And
yeah.
I think that attitude, and people I tell people, send me a gentle nudge. Like, if I say yes, that I'm going to do this for someone because I want to do it for someone, I don't ever get annoyed that they reminded me that I said I would do this for them, right? So it's kind of shifting the way that we look at things. Yeah.
But that's what so much of this is about. It's perception, it's shifting. I think the language piece of it is also big for you. I know one of the other really wonderful nuggets that I took away from working with you was, as it pertains to business. And we should also distinguish that you work with people in a range of areas. It's not just about personal growth. Sometimes it's more specific to growing a business or making a huge change. And I think that you have great insights and guidance in those areas as well. But so one of the nuggets that I thought was so meaningful was turning I can't into, well, how can I? It's not about what you
Yes.
can and can't do. It's actually just, how do you do it in a way that's different than the way that you think that you can't do it?
Yes. Oftentimes people think it needs to be an affirmation and they think I can't should become I can. But the problem is it's that fake positivity that we talked about. You say I can, you're like saying a mantra, but you don't believe it. And you're saying like, or you're like again, a simple example is like saying, I'm a millionaire. And then you look at your bank account and it's like withdrawn, right? And so you're feeling worse actually because you're saying this thing that you're repeating over and over again. So instead it's, how can I? How can I be a millionaire? Or how can I, sell this business or whatever it is, Then it opens you up to receiving ideas from yourself, the universe, whatever, right? And you're looking for ways versus closing yourself off. Like I said, the process is so much more about being open and receiving all along the way. So how
Mhm.
can I, when you open it up to a question, ideas come in, and you're still able to show up and it still is believable because you're saying, I don't know, I might not have all the answers, but I'm open to receiving them. I'm
Right.
open to finding a way. I'm going to take this next step that I know, right? And same thing with what if. We could go what if worst case scenario, or we could go what if best case scenario, right? It's a choice. And sometimes people are afraid to go into what if worst case scenario, but it's okay. You can go there for a minute and then you might find out that it's actually not as bad as you thought, right? And then you can go back into best case scenario and be like, ooh, this feels better. I'm going to stay here. The other language we frame, I'm glad you brought this up that I wanted to share, is changing I have to, I get to,
Yeah, that's a
because
good
it's
one.
this, yeah, it's the same thing on your list, right? It's the same stuff you're going to do or you have to do, like, picking your kids up from school. But if you change it to I get to pick my kids up from school, you find the good in it.
Mhm.
You realize you're not a victim of your circumstances. You chose to have kids or, whatever it is, right? And so you've got the lens of gratitude, you've got the lens of I'm in control of my life, right? You're finding the good and it's a choice. I get to do this. I'm never stuck in any situation. I always have the power to choose again.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some of the, and I think we just covered a couple of them in terms of even just thinking about this language and flipping the switch, but what do you feel are little mini exercises that anybody who is listening can do starting today that, and then I want to also have you explain a bit about how you work with people and the options that exist there. But if somebody is just hearing this and saying, okay, I'm game, give me a shot, let me try that like joy thing that Erica was just talking about, like what are your a couple of little quick
Yeah.
exercises that you recommend?
Yeah, one thing that I didn't share yet, which I think is really helpful, is if you're finding things are feeling difficult for you, or you're getting frustrated, like things aren't working out for you, or it's feeling like it's too hard, is to ask yourself these two questions. Number one, how can I make it easier? And number two, how can I make it more fun? So, how can I make it easier? How can I make it more fun? Because again, it's just taking yourself out of this pressure scenario and coming back into a place of play. And how can I approach this situation from a different perspective? It really shifts things because I find that when you over effort, it's because you don't trust it's all working out. You might have a period where you're working harder, right? Or you've got a deadline or you're taking inspired action as an artist or whatever, but it's a different feeling than over efforting because you don't trust it's going to happen and you think that you have to make it happen, that you
Mm,
alone are doing it versus you're co-creating with the universe. So how can I make it easier? Oftentimes, like we're overcomplicating things and it's like, oh, I could just do this one thing, right? And boom, it's easy. And how can I make it more fun? Because everything is connected. And so you might have one goal that you're working on, but if you're feeling like it's really hard, you could do something that brings you joy, like you said, finding joy, but doing something that you love on a regular basis. It's so simple, but it really does make a difference because then you're showing up different, right?
mhm.
Your energy is different. It's, you're talking about health and wellness. And it's like, what's going to be good for me today? What does my heart want most today? Like, okay, maybe I'll go for a walk, or, maybe it is working out or eating healthy. It's not because there are rules, it's because it's going to make me feel good, right? It's going to bring me joy. I love to ride my bike. I'm going to go for a bike ride. What is something that's going to bring me joy and shift my vibration so I can show up differently? And when we do that and we make time and prioritize that, then we come back to whatever it is from a different place and we're more productive. So I think those are good questions to ask. And then flipping your to-do list. And, again, I get to do these things. I don't have to, but prioritizing the biggest dream. So often we put that big, pie in the sky thing on the back burner because we're so busy taking care of all the other things that we've got rolling, you know, And so then that thing stays there on the back burner. We never focus
Yeah.
on it. And I said, what you focus on expands. So just by putting that last thing first, right, and prioritizing the thing that actually you're the most excited about, even though it's the scariest, if you prioritize it and take teeny little action steps on it every day, I promise you it's going to be real. It's way faster than you even thought
Yeah.
because you're actually focused on it. And then, oh my God, that's when a new business is actually happening and like boom, 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 like faster than you ever thought because you're just doing it.
Yeah.
And that's acting as if. Acting as if isn't fake it till you make it, which a lot of people think. Acting as if is how can I become my future self now? If I want all these things, what would I do? How would I show up? What's one thing I can do now to make it real, right? It's a different feeling. It's not feeling, like you're a fraud. No,
Yeah.
it's stepping into your future self now. And it doesn't have to take longer than you think. Real quick, you mentioned my book story, right? So I had the idea to write a book and I literally just said it out loud. Oh, I think I have a book within me. I was on a call with my coach at the time. I never thought about writing a book before. And I just was like, ooh, book idea. And she said, awesome, Jen. Like, great, I can help you. She didn't say, well, that's stupid, Jen. Like, you don't have enough experience and you've never written a book before. So it also is important to surround yourself with people who are going to be believing eyes, right? And saying, yes, that's possible because we've got so many naysayers in our life in general, right? So I just had that belief, okay, great, I can write a book. And literally a week later, I get an email from a publishing house asking me to write a book. They were like, oh, we love your voice on your blog. We'd love for you to write something like Manifesting Made Easy. And I thought, this is really a crazy coincidence, even for me as the queen of manifestation. I just said it a week ago, and here I get an email. And I thought it must be some sort of scam, like they want me to pay them to write a book. But I Googled the publishing house. It was a real publishing house. My dream publisher was Simon and Schuster, and this was a publisher I'd never heard of, but I liked their title, so I agreed to get on the phone. They offered me a paid book deal to write my book. And while I am writing my book, my small publishing house gets bought by Simon and Schuster, my dream publisher. So I'm a Simon and Schuster published author. It happened way easier, way faster than I thought it had to happen, right? Like there's always the universe is so magical. And so, you think it has to take a long time. I've got to write a book proposal, do all this first. And it's like, what if it could all come together easier, right? What would be fun? Like, and just I still took action, right? And I said yes to the opportunities. And I think that's so key. It's like you're clear on what you want, opportunities come in. And if it feels exciting, like say yes, explore it. Don't turn it off because it's not the exact match to what you thought it was going to be, right? Like stay open to exploring. It's not maybe what I thought, but this is still in alignment with what I want. And then it can kind of become what's best for you, right? And then that opportunity becomes something else and boom, it's a ripple effect. So
Mm-hmm.
stay open, look for those signs, say yes to the opportunities that are showing up for you.
And the thing is about all of this, it's just common sense to me. And it's like, well, okay, even if you want to come out and set out to prove that none of this is possible, like you can't actually prove it's not possible, which means that it is possible. And it just, to me, is like, it's common sense. Like, what does it hurt to stay open? What does it hurt? What does it cost you to just look at things a different way or talk to yourself in a different voice than you're used to? What is it actually going to cost you? That's what I come back to. So
Yeah, just play. Like, okay, I don't believe this, but I'm just going to play, right? I'm going to go for it. I'm going to write out my intentions. I'm going to place my order to the universe. I'm going to look for signs. I'm going to, be grateful, be proud of myself on a regular basis, right? Not attached to
yeah.
the results of my actions and love up on myself. I'm going to show up from that place. I'm going to do what I love. I'm going to shift when I'm feeling like I'm over efforting because I trust that it's happening. I'm not just imagining, I'm intuiting. And if I trust, I don't care what happens if I get rejected or not, because I know ultimately I'm always in the right place at the right time. Things are working out and it's exciting, right? We're looking for the good. And when we show up that way, energy is felt, right? So,
I love
yeah.
it. It's like a nice little sprinkle of joy on a cloudy, yucky day. So, how are you? I know you have your book and you do podcasts every once in a while, but what does your practice look like, or what's your business look like for people
Hmm.
who want to have an opportunity to work with you one way or another?
So I have a program called Manifestation Masters that is for anybody. who wants to learn how to use these tools that I'm talking about to change the way they're showing up in the world consistently to get new results. So that is like kind of a deep dive into changing your mindset and taking new action and allowing yourself to experience things super fast. That's a 40-day program that's for anybody, any dream, any gender. And then I work with people privately and in my mastermind called the Manifestation Club, who are business owners. I work with a lot of women who are entrepreneurs or want to launch new things, take a new step in their business and in their relationships also, to experience things on a bigger level, like invite in more. Things are good and they could be even better, right?
Yeah.
In all areas. So those are people you can reach out on my website, queenofmanifestation.com, and find out how to work with me more privately and in depth, which is super fun to see things happen in that
Yeah.
way.
And I think it's interesting that so many of your clients are women, and it's not a coincidence, obviously. I mean, I think we are just finally waking up to understand how to think a little bit bigger for ourselves and stop putting everybody else's needs and priorities before our own, because we got to show up for ourselves first. And if it takes a little bit of a group therapy session or a coaching session or how, by whatever means necessary, if you can get there to just start using your voice. I mean, I think even for me, who I feel a pretty confident person, I've got a pretty strong personality, a big personality. That has always been the case for me since, I was a theater kid, shocker there. But I found that I had lost my voice completely. And I think that I didn't even realize it until, I worked with you and then I worked with a therapist, and I just started paying attention in a different way and realized how not showing up I was. That's not English, but you know what I mean? Like how not present
Yeah.
I was for myself, and how I was really letting things pass by and sort of letting my life happen to me instead of for me, and all of
Yes.
that. And yeah, it just makes an enormous difference. And sometimes all it is just having that outside perspective of somebody saying, "Do you hear yourself?" And oftentimes the answer is no. So
Mm-hmm.
it is nice to have that little North Star for somebody
Yeah,
to,
even this podcast and, like all of it, it's like a result of the work that we did together, which I love so much because you're stepping into your power fully, right? And it's like being okay claiming that, like,
yeah.
actually, this is what I want. And sometimes we have dreams and we've manifested them and we think that we need to stay because it was our dream before, right? And it's like, well, maybe that's an old dream and I'm ready to do something else, and giving ourselves permission for that too,
Yeah.
which is totally fine. We don't need to feel guilty. We can do it in a beautiful way, right? So it's just, we're always evolving. There's something that's calling you. And so it's like giving yourself permission to step into that.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, I think that's a good place to put a pin in things for now, but I feel like there's so many more. I feel like I'm going to get a lot of questions about this conversation, and we might have to do a part two.
That's fine too. I love you so much. I'm like, I'm happy to come back. We can go deeper.
I love it. Okay, well, I think this is a good primer, a good overview, and I want everybody to start doing some of these exercises now and share with me on social and share with Jen on social whatever progress you're making, because I think there's going to be a lot.
Yeah.
Thank you
Oh,
so much for being with me today, Jen.
thank you for having me. So happy.
Till next time.